Hello, doing a quick recording here on how to set up your OBS studios. This is going to be really basic, so we're not going to go over anything too complicated. The first thing that you're going to want to, first thing we'll go over are your settings. So we're going to open up the settings tab here. You see there's general, stream, output, audio, video, hotkeys, and advanced. We're only going to be really looking at output. General, there's nothing really that you need to change. There's only, you can change your themes or whatever. Stream, if your system can handle streaming. This is where you would select your service. For example, I just select Twitch. I don't generally stream, but if I would, I would select whatever service you'd like. Put in your stream key and automatically set that up. Next thing, outputs. This is where we're going to be focusing mainly. So under recordings, this is where you're going to have a couple options to kind of decide how you want to set up your recording. The main one is that if you have an AMD or NVIDIA graphics card, you are going to want to set your encoder under the recordings tab to hardware AMD. Or if it's the NVIDIA, it will say like NVEC encoder. And the reason we want to do that is so that when we are gaming, we're taking, instead of recording using our CPU, we can record using the encoder part of our graphics card, which allows us to play our games without really affecting our gaming experience, while at the same time coming out with really nice 1080p 60 frames per second recording, or whatever settings you'd like to set up there. Really simply, I've just set up the recording quality to high quality with medium file size. It means that it's like whatever you're watching right now. Like you can see, the video's pretty crisp. It's all at 1920 by 1080p. And the reason I select medium file size is because there will be a couple other options if you start looking in your OBS program where you can increase the quality. It puts a little bit more stress on the graphics card. But the file size gets like humongous. Like it just uses up all your disk space. So if you want to create a lot of videos and store them, this is where just going with the normal high quality and a medium file size will be an ideal kind of option to select. Then your recording format, there are going to be a couple. There'll be like FLV, MOV, MP4, and yeah, just a couple options. I've selected MP4, but as you can see here, it gives us a warning. If we select MP4, if the recording's not finalized, the video will kind of be corrupt. I generally have not had any issues with this, but where this would be an issue is if you are recording and like your system crashes or something like that. Then that's where you would have wanted to use like an FLV format. I've had a good experience with MP4, so I just leave it on that. And then of course the main one, make sure that your hardware encoder, your encoder is set to AMD. We're not looking at the stream settings, but it'll kind of look like this. There will be the default will be software X264, and we're just going to select hardware AMD and just select that in. Streaming is a whole kind of another thing. For audio here, you can set up your audio devices. So desktop audio speaker, I'm using a Yeti mic, so I just selected that. But yeah, and then you've got a couple other options here. This is generally not important. I generally don't look at that. But then under video, this is where, let's say you want to downscale your video. Instead of like saying, okay, I want to record a 1080p video, now you can be like, okay, I want to record a downscaled 720p video. The reason you might want to do that is just maybe your internet connection slower, so it takes you a while to upload your video to YouTube, or it's just you find 720p gets the job done, or the recording you find isn't smooth at 1080p. So this is where your output scaled resolution, that's where you'll have a couple options here to change that. Hotkeys, we don't really need to go over this, but it's like if you want to instead of having to click on the start and stop recording, you can just put in custom hotkeys for start and stop recording. I did control in this little thing. It's right beside the 1 number on the keyboard. I just use that because it's handy. But yeah, you can set up whatever you'd like in here for your hotkeys. And then advanced, I don't really know what's in advanced, so I don't really bother with that. But those are just a brief look at the settings. The main ones that you'll take away from this are make sure you set the encoder to hardware AMD. You can change your recording quality, your recording format, and then something I didn't mention is that your recording path. So for example, if your computer has two hard drives, this is where, let's say you don't want to put all these saved recordings on your C drive, which could be a smaller SSD. That's where you can select your secondary hard drive, open it up, create a folder, and record your videos there. So for example, that's exactly what I did here. All right, moving on. The next thing we're going to look at is how to add a source. So the first thing you're going to need to do, because when you automatically download this program, there will be black. There will be no sources or scenes. So you're going to want to do is click add scene, and the way you do that is just by right clicking, or there's a little plus sign at the bottom here. This scene, you can call it whatever you'd like. You can call it game capture for a specific game. And the reason you want to label these is because sometimes streamers and stuff, they'll have multiple options here to scroll through everything. I'm just going to enable preview for a second just to make sure we're good to go. But yeah, so you want to make a new scene. So I'm going to use scene 2. Under scene 2, I already have a couple options here. So by default you won't have any. So all you need to do is hit the plus sign again at the bottom, and now you've got a couple options to set up your recording. For game recording, there's just game capture. You select that and go through it and just hit okay pretty much. Hang on, I'm just gonna make sure I'm gonna enable preview for this. So I'm gonna hit add game capture, hit OK. In there, this is where you can select either capture a full screen application or capture a specific window. I prefer to go with a specific window. It gives you a little bit more control, I find. I don't really know, but this is where you will find like let's say if I had Fortnite running in the background, this is where I could like select that application. And then all you do is you hit OK and it shows up. Yeah, it's kind of self-explanatory. I'm not going to go through all the different options here, but if we're going to look at them, there is window capture device. Window capture, I use that when playing Fortnite and running the MSI Afterburner overlay. Video capture device, this is like having a basically having an external video capture device like a webcam. And then game capture, we went over that. Display capture is the simplest if you really don't know what you're doing. You just go to display capture, make sure your game, whatever you're playing, is not running in full screen, and this will just capture that. I don't have multiple monitors, but the reason, cool option here is if you do have multiple monitors, you can select which one you'd like to record off of. But yeah, that's just the displays and everything. And before we go, I'm going to quickly go over our audio, because this, if you don't know about it, it's super simple setup. It's under here, audio mixer. For example, our desktop audio, we're going to hit the little settings button here and go to properties. Device, we're going to select whatever headphones we're using, and we're getting all the default audio output too. So for example, I'm using my speakers, which is connected to my Yeti microphone. So I just hit OK. Yours will look different based on whatever headphones you have. Same deal for your mic input. Hit the settings, properties, and find either your default or select specifically the microphone you'd like to use. Hit OK, and that's pretty much everything you need to know to set up OBS recordings and stuff. And the nice thing is it wasn't too long of recording, and yeah, we kind of went over everything. Again, in summary, the most important thing is make sure you're setting your encoder to utilize the graphics card. So if it's AMD, you'll go under here, select encoder, and select it to the hardware AMD encoder. If it's NVIDIA, you'll select that to NVENC. That is the most important thing you can take away from the video, because it'll give you a smooth recording without influencing your gameplay too much. And then of course you start learning how to set up your scenes and your different sources, and then through that you can come up with a whole bunch of different preset options here and stuff. But yeah, anyways, I'm gonna end the recording there. I hope this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, you're always welcome to reach out. Thanks.